And here we are. This is probably the last quiz. Well, it is the last quiz. You'll be happy. And it's really simple again. This time I'm just going to have about 4 questions, so relax. Now you are seeing on the easel there a painting. Now this is not my painting. I wish it was. I wish I had done it, and I wish I owned it, because this painting is invaluable. It is a painting by Hieronymus Bosch. There's some light shining on it, but his name is Hieronymus. It's a cool name. Hieronymus, and his second name is Bosch, B-O-S-C-H. And he got his name, he's named after the town or village or city that he lived in, which was called Bosch. So, if he was born in the Bronx, he would be Hieronymus Bronx, which is also a very cool name. Now, this painting was done around the 15th century, and I'm going to talk about it. But in those days, there were no art galleries. So, question number 1, where would you see paintings in those days if you were a normal person? Kings and queens and lords and ladies and those types, merchants, maybe they could afford to buy a painting. But normal people, the only place they would see paintings would be inside churches. So I presume this painting originally hung inside a church in the city of Bosch, painted by Hieronymus Bosch. So your ordinary people, that's like you and me, not kings and queens and super rich merchants, the only place they would see a painting in the 15th century, as there were no such thing as art galleries, would be inside the church. And it must have been an amazing thing seeing this, because there were no books, no magazines, no movies, no photographs, certainly no internet. So people had limited access to seeing bright colours and images. So the only place they would see things like this would be in the church. So we'll look at the different panels here. We'll start with this one here, this left panel, and I'm going up here. You can see the blue of this remarkable landscape in the distance. Whenever you paint a landscape, if you paint the furthest part away a kind of bluish, which he's done, and a lot of artists do this, it gives the impression of something far in the distance. You don't paint it like mountains all green and everything. You give it that light blue distant tone, so it works very well. And then we see his imaginary and sometimes real animals. Obviously in those days people were still exploring the world, so animals would not be so available to see. So we've got a unicorn here. That's a real elephant with a monkey on its back. That's a kind of weird looking giraffe, and there's all sorts of strange things here. And then we've got, we can only assume that this is Jesus, and this is Adam, and this is Eve. He's kind of holding her hand, and obviously this represents then the Garden of Eden, or a kind of heavenly view of earth, the Garden of Eden, when everything was perfect and there's nothing untoward happening there. Animals and humans are living in harmony in the Garden of Eden. Okay, so that's the left panel of this painting. This painting's title is The Garden of Earthly Delights. And I think the Garden of Earthly Delights is this central panel here, which is the biggest one. The painting is in 3 pieces because these 2 outer panels, left and right, would fold in like doors, and there was always a painting on the outside. I don't have the outside of it with a painting, but there was always a simple black and white painting on the outside, and then it would open up and all the people in the church would be amazed seeing all this stuff. So again, he's got the background with that light blue, then he's got this water here, then he's got this pool here in the middle. You can see these people, and you can Google this painting, Hieronymus Bosch, Garden of Earthly Delights, and it'll have close-up photographs on Google. But you can see in the center here, it's all women in the pool, all different women, and outside of it are men who are showing off on different animals, you know, displaying themselves, and some women are crawling out to join them, some women just can't be bothered with it. So it's the kind of mating ritual, you know, people looking for a partner. This is his impression of Earth. And then we have different people getting together here, all sorts of things happening in the water. And like I say, you can Google this thing and look at it close up, because there's a lot of stuff here, very complicated things going on. It seems like he's got different people coming together in different types of relationships. You know, he's got all people inside these bubbles, a man with an owl, and here we have different people from different countries. So it's the Earth, all people getting together like a mad merry-go-round, a kind of mating ritual where everyone is trying to kind of do something on this Earth. So that's that panel, which is the center panel, which is probably the most complicated of the three. And here we have the last panel, which is the darkest one, and that right panel represents hell. So you have the hell here at the top, which is the traditional hell of fire and burning. Then you have the hell of these ears, which have a knife going through them, so that's the hell of noise. If you've ever had really noisy neighbours playing music all day and night, you know that is a real form of hell, because you can't escape it. He's got the old music from these bagpipes, and that's his portrait there, that's Bosch. And then there's this weird thing here with people in it, which is situated on a hell of cold. There's ice here, sorry it's a bit shiny, but there's people on ice and they're freezing and their bodies have gone all icy. So that's if you ever had an apartment which had no heating, which I had once when I was staying after I got divorced, and there was no heating, and so you would sit there and in the winter you would see your breath. So that's a sort of hell. And here is various hells. To me this, you know, the people can interpret different things from this painting. In fact, they've written books of thousands of pages. But this hell down here at the bottom, to me, is the hell of stink. This is a devil of hell. And he's got one of the old, before they had toilets, they had these, what they were called shitting pots. So he's wearing one of them on his head, and he's eating the souls of people in hell. And then he's sitting on a shitting stool, and their bodies are coming out from here into the cesspit. So this is a kind of hell. Now there's lots of other stuff going on here. In fact, a student explained to me this symbolism here of the hand and the knife. But I'm not going to go into it too much, because the simple question is, what does this panel represent? The left panel? What does the center panel represent? And what does the right panel represent? So there's these heaven, earth and hell. And the painting itself, although it was painted in the Netherlands, that's Holland, it ended up in Spain. And the reason for that is very interesting. The King of Spain, Philip, he wanted this painting, and there was a long war against Spain, against Holland, and the Spanish occupied Holland, The Spanish were getting everywhere in the world, as you know. If you're from South America, you speak Spanish. That's not the indigenous language to South America. It's come over, obviously, from Spain. So they were, like the British, they were creating huge colonies and empires. So it ended up, it's still there now in Madrid, and it's in the museum called the Prado, Prado, and you can Google that and look at it in there. It's one of their prized masterpieces. Like the Mona Lisa, it's invaluable. It's one of the most, I prefer it to the Mona Lisa because to me there's more to look at. When I was a boy, I used to like looking at this painting. So that is the art history quiz, where in the old days, the 15th century, before there were art galleries, where was the only place that ordinary people could go and see paintings? And what do these panels represent? The left one, the middle one, and the right. What do these three panels, three parts of the painting, represent? And what is the museum where you can see this now? Which country? So those are your questions. So we'll make it really easy. So that's a nice easy quiz. And also what you're doing is carrying on with your second painting, the big painting for the finals that you'll send to me the week after, and I'll be able to then give you all your grades. So if you've been doing everything, you've got nothing to worry about, and that's it for this week. So once again, delighted to have you all here. Wait a minute, that's me there in the light. It's a horrible day today. I don't know what's happening. It's just absolutely pouring rain outside, so I'm working away here as much as I can, but it's not a day for walking outside. So there's your art history quiz. Hieronymus Bosch, The Garden of Earthly Delights, and I'll write the questions on Blackboard. So that's it for now. Toodle pip, all the best to you. Talk to you later. Bye.